Hey y'all, this is AL Thick Madame and Cinnamon Sugar, and this is the recap review for Queen Sugar. I feel like this is dirty, so let me clean it up real quick. I don't know what's going on. Oh, okay. I don't know how that happened, but okay. I'm looking like, what in the world? Anyway, let's go ahead and get into this recap review. So this episode started out with Hollywood walking in on Vi looking for something, trying to figure out what in the world she's looking for, see if, she needed his help. And she was looking through some old things and she found a picture that she and Parker's mama had together because they used to be like the best of friends. And so in her mind, she's convinced that Parker's mama, she wouldn't have wanted this, and ain't no way that this was something that she would have wanted. Like, she was a really good person and all that. And I'm looking like, girl, what that got to do with Parker? Parker is on the same thing Sam on at this point. Like, she had moments where she really got me. She really had me thinking that she was on the side of right, but she was on the side of trash, which is Sam. And I'm just like, girl, don't nobody have time. That man don't care nothing about you. Hopefully before the end of this season she will understand that. Anyway, so Nova is determined that she will be able to have enough people to vote to have everything to be the way it needs to be, which is that's going to be deemed a historical landmark so that the remains can not be removed and all of that. So, they're trying not to worry about it, because again, it's not just the fact that it's their land, their home, everything they've known their entire lives is there on that land. So it's a lot. So we end up seeing Micah at school in his photography class. The teacher is teaching, he is explaining that NFTs exist, and because of the social climate that's going on right now, it actually has been very beneficial in how they have been able to get certain things executed because of NFTs. A lot of protesting has happened. Some of the pictures that have been snapped during these protests have gone up for auction and whatnot, and people have donated money, and they were able to fund a lot of these collectives because of the people who put themselves on the line to put that stuff out there to say, Black Lives Matter, things of that nature, right? So he wanted to talk to the teacher. He wanted to figure out how he can get into NFTs. And he was like, look, you're going to have to talk to Kiki. Kiki is going to be the curator of all this stuff that I got going on. So you need to talk to her. And so he was like, what did she tell you? Pretty much know that they used to be an item. And he was like, yeah, she told me, but she's the boss. You got to talk to her. She's very good at what she does. So do what you got to do if you want to get in the game. So Prosper is talking to Hollywood and explaining to him that he wants to be able to bring to life what his woman wants, which is to go to Jamaica. But he cannot afford to go to Jamaica and take her there. So Hollywood was like, well, the real spot can help with that. I could turn it into that type of an environment and she will think she's there. I can cook jerk chicken and all these other things and we can get it cracking. And so he was like, that's a good idea. So gonna make a date happen and it's going to seem as though it is Jamaica inspired, Jamaican inspired. Oh my gosh. So anyway, we end up seeing the woman who is over the co-op walking the land and explaining to the Bordelon family and Prosper, how things go, about how awesome it is to have a co-op, to be a part of a co-op. And she actually gave them a pouch of seeds as a way to, kind of extend uh, a, something that basically signifies unity and that, and good luck with how the city council situation is going to unfold. And so again, we see where Nova and this woman are making googly eyes, if you will. They're doing the most. And so they gonna link up, have drinks, and discuss some things further. Meanwhile, in the grocery store, Billy is in the grocery store. She keeps getting a phone call from her husband, and she ignored the phone call. We see Parker. And so Billy don't know who Parker is. And so she was like, the last time I did that, blah, 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 blah. Trying to talk to her about how she used to ignore somebody and trying to explain to her that you need to face it at some point in time. And so, for whatever reason, Billy felt inspired to just tell this heifer all her business. And once she told her what her name was first, this heifer lied and told me her name was Amani or something, child. Tell me, oh, well, my mama called me Amani. Girl, now, if her mama actually did do that and she didn't lie, I'm just like, girl, the fact that you knew you was wrong and didn't just say Parker, you knew you was wrong. You could tell by the look on her face when she introduced herself and shook that woman's hand that she knew she was wrong. But yeah, she just keeps telling her she needs to call her husband back. But it is what it is. And I'm just like, girl, get out of here. Don't nobody have time for it. So moving right along, we end up seeing Prosper and Hollywood talking. And so Hollywood is going through some items that Hollywood had when he actually went to Jamaica back in the 90s, like the late 90s. And like he had like the little beanie that had the little twisted up hair attached and had a couple of things or whatever. And so like he's trying to get excited, but he's just hopeful that it's going to be enough for her. And I'm just like, Prosper, now you know. I don't know why he would even think that she would have a problem. Like, why she would, seem like she's so uppity that she wouldn't accept what he's offering. It's supposed to be a date. I'm like, what in the world you got going on? But anyway, he's fearful that because of everything that he's experienced with the ex-wife, he kind of is like, dang, I'm nervous and, I never felt like this. And, I haven't felt like this in quite some time. And, should I even be out here like this looking for love and accepting, whatever's coming my way? And he looked like, yeah. So anyway, Nova and this woman, they over here having drinks and they talking and everything is going well. And then the woman is basically like, do you have someone who is tending to you? And so she was like, yes, I do. He's, out of town right now because her phone went off. So the last message that happened was Nova telling this man that she loves him. So he responded back to her with some information about whatever he had been researching or whatever. And I'm like, Lord, y'all doing a lot. And so Nova ended up asking her if she had someone. She was like, no, I'm currently single. And I'm like, y'all finna screw with something at some point. Like it's gonna happen. Unless Nova has discipline this season, they're gonna end up kissing or something. Something inappropriate gonna go down. But we gonna see. Hopefully she can have discipline for once in her life. Cause she always getting tangled up in something. Anyway, we end up seeing Micah approaching the teacher yet again. And the teacher was like, well, let me see some of the stuff that you got. And so he was like, this is really nice work. I will get in touch with someone and they should be interested, but I don't want to promise you anything. So he is looking forward to the opportunity to be able to prove that it'll be worth having him on board so that he can provide some great NFTs. Well, Violet is at work and she didn't ask Joaquin, did you tell your mama that I asked about her? Y'all, please tell me, is this boy's mama deceased or what? Like, I don't remember what happened with this child. I really don't. I just remember that he wasn't he the one who stole the pies or stole something, money or something out of Vi's store. That's the only thing I really can remember. And I'm just like, Lord, somebody please refresh my memory because I don't remember. Anyway, down to the bank. Darla, Billy, and the woman, I don't forgot what her name is because I've never met anyone with her name before. But we've seen her several times this season. Hold on, I want to make sure I say this woman's name right. I feel like her first name is something else, but Darla is referring to her as Miss Parthena. So Miss Parthena is there, and they're speaking on behalf of her because, like I told y'all before, I think in the previous recap review, that she is behind by $25,000. That man gonna tell her, if you get us the money that you owe us within 48 hours, you ain't got to worry about the sheriff showing up to your door. And I was like, now, sir, no, you didn't. You gonna have the sheriff come to her house and kick her out the house, off the land, and all of that. Ain't nobody got $25,000 laying around. If she ain't had the money all this time, how you think she gonna scrape it up out of nowhere? So she's worried and it's annoying. But what's interesting is that there is a black banker or person that's at the bank. I'm gonna say he's a banker, and he's listening to the conversation. You could tell he was listening in, and it's like he was listening in and looking and all this other stuff. And so when they were about to get up and leave, he left right before them, and Darla told everybody I'll be out there in a minute. And so she asked him, if he worked there, and was like, you seem to have been listening in on the conversation and just trying to figure out what was going on because it's suspicious. Come to find out, this man on purpose gets all of the black farmers' information. He is the one who gets all of their cases. So he never gets a chance to do anything. And he straight up told him her best bet is to get that money in because ain't nothing that he can do. There is literally nothing he can do because every single last black farmer's paperwork that comes into that building, every single last one of them, their case end up being his case on purpose. He requests them, he requests those cases, and he gets them. And I'm just like, that is just trash, so trash. And the audacity of him to sit up there and say, "Oh, it's reverse racism, so that's why her money being held up in court and all this other stuff." And I'm just like, boy, get out of here. Ain't nobody got time. Don't nobody have time for this foolishness. Anyway, old boy was like, "Look, I can't talk freely here." I think he ended up handing off his number because, yeah, I'm looking. I as soon as he got up, that man kind of looked at him, and I'm like, "Sir, it ain't gonna work. You gonna get fired." You had no business walking out of the room with them people, but look, look, it was better than what some people was doing. I get to that later on. But yeah, they had a meeting and they were discussing everything that happened, and they said, worst come to worst, we were all pulled together and do what we got to do to make sure that you can come up with that money. But we're not gonna let you go out. Excuse me, y'all. I'm supposed to be asleep. So sorry, but we're not gonna let you go out there like that. So she's very, very, very upset. So anyway, the place that a lot of these millennials, these really young children, as I want to call them, the young people, NFTs are the way of the world now. They are, the thing to do. And he ends up meeting somebody else who should be able to help him out. And so, of course, he found out what his name was, and he was like, "I must admit, I was a fan of your dad." And I'm like, every time I found out, every time I hear about somebody talking about his dad, it made me roll my eyes real hard. I'm like, don't nobody care. I mean, people do, but I'm like, please stop. But anyway, he's trying to explain to him that, it's a thing, there's a lot that goes into it, and he will show him what needs to be done and explain it to him. So we'll see that later on. So Sam Landry and Parker are outside of where they're gonna have everything and council meeting, and then we see Hollywood and Vi come in. So she done walked up to Parker and told Parker she ought to be ashamed of herself. Her mother would be, her mama would be very, upset about this happening, and she ought to be ashamed of herself and all this other stuff. Then she read her and she told her, "I don't care how old you are or whatever, you better put some respect on my name," pretty much. I was like, "Amen." But yeah, she had to read Sam real quick, and Sam told her that, he's gonna need for her to respect the decision that's going to ultimately come down. So the people ended up having Nova to come up there because she was representing the parish of black farmers. And she basically was like, the ancestors and all of that, we're representing the ancestors for what they went through and what we're trying to bring to the future. These jobs, this is these people's livelihood. Like, it needs to stay what it is, which is a historical landmark. Please let it stay that way. Like, they were very emotional. It was a very, like, y'all don't want to get into it because I'm going to get emotional. When I tell y'all, I had to keep fanning myself like this to not cry because I was like, ma'am, you acted your behind off on the scene. You set it off on the left, right, front, and the back. Yes. You get all the accolades that you get because you really did that. So, like, she got a standing ovation, and then Parker went up there And she basically was like, oh, I agree with Nova because my mother. I was like, girl, just stop. She over here talking about her mama, was caught up in the massacre and all this stuff too. So, her mama's remains are there, and that they want to be able to go ahead with the effort to create jobs and all of this. So they're going to carefully remove and exhume the bodies and allow them to have a proper burial. And then like the 5 or 6 people on her side clapped. And I was like, child, please. So they ended up voting on it. And only one black person that was up there on the city council raised their hand. It was the woman. So I looked at the black man that was up there. I was like, how dare you? Like, I can't, y'all. I know it's a TV show, but I was like, how dare you? How dare you? Almost everybody raised their hand, and they have basically lost the land. It is a wrap. Like this, I cannot. Parker really sat up there and created tears. One thing I can say about this heifer, her eyebrows always be on point. I live for her eyebrows. But anyway, I'm sorry. I be living. I feel like I've said that several times before. But every time I see her on any show, I be getting my entire life. But I'm so sick and tired of her. I'm like, girl, Sam is using you. Why are you setting it off? And she's so dirty that after the ruling went down, she gonna turn around and look at Billy and was like, did you call him? Oh, child, I would have jumped all them pews. I would have jumped all the benches in there and strangled her real quick. Because, girl, no, you did. You knew exactly who I was, and that's why you made a point to lie about what your name was. Don't nobody around there know you for that. Don't nobody around there know you. And she knew she was wrong. She looked right in her face after it was over with. She knew where the woman was sitting and everything. I would have jumped every single last one of them chairs. I'm so sick and tired of her. Child. Anyway, after everything, went down, everybody needs to kind of regroup and to relax. And they have a boat. You know what I'm saying? Y'all know Hollywood was buying a lot of stuff back in the day when he won that settlement and all of that. And so he has a boat. And, they are just out on the land, and it's just docked out on the land, and they're envisioning, having time to themselves and all of that. And it's a cute moment, and I'm here for it. So, anything that could be relaxing, because, she needs all the relaxation that she can get. At one point in time, we saw where Nova, I think Ralph Angel was there, Micah, yeah, they were like all watching old videos of their daddy and how they were basically christening or dedicating the land to the children and saying, hey, we putting your name in here and all of that. And like, they were really young. Nova said that they daddy looked younger than what Ralph Angel is currently, and he really did look young. So it is what it is. So he's over here looking at the footage, and back then they had a VH tape, and it was a wonder that it didn't get ripped. So they're gonna have to transfer it. But anyway, he was looking over that and looking over some photos that he'd taken, and the guy, the most recent guy who was gonna, give him pointers on how he can do the NFTs, he came over to his house with a bottle of some alcoholic beverages. An alcoholic beverage, if you will. So, even though I can't really put my finger on it, and I'm like, are you sexually fluid, or like, what is going on? Are you just one of those mysterious acting people? Like, what's going on? But he looking around, he's liking the decorum, and he has had to explain to him, look, this is my mama. My mama did all of this. Like, I didn't decorate. And when he was looking at the different things that, he presented to him, he saw a picture of him and the roommate. And even though, that situation went down, some things happened or whatever, and they had that very close connection, they've just decided to just stay friends. And it just is what it is. So he was like, is that your boyfriend? And he was like, no, that's just a friend. And I'm like, So anyway, he's basically telling him that his artwork is dope. His photography, the way he's capturing the people and all that is dope. And, he needs to understand that if he does what he's supposed to do, it's going to be something that he's going to have to keep up. So he's acting as if he's up for the challenge. Well, late that night, after losing everything, Nova and Billy are out on the back of the truck on the land talking, and she's really, really sad. And she was just like, I can't believe that I had poured my heart out to her, and I told her all my business and all of that. And she was like, it is what it is. And then basically was like, hey, but did you call him? No. And so she actually did call him back, and she was kind of like appalled at herself that she took Parker's advice and called Vincent. um for whatever reason, not Parker, Billy, she has so many big dreams, and she did become that lawyer that she wanted to, but now she just doesn't feel fulfilled. And so she was like, you had those dreams, like, stop saying that you're gonna think of doing stuff and just do it. And it is what it is. And so she pretty much was trying to use the same logic for Nova as well, to just stop thinking and just do stuff, because she's trying to figure out other stuff that she can do to overturn the ruling. And so she was like, I heard about how people were able to protest, and, they were able to get, stop injunctions and things like that. Maybe that can work for us. And so she was like, well, just do it then, basically. Well, Micah walked into that area, into that building where those little young millennials and things were all huddled around the other day. People rolling up on him, hugging him, and they clapping for him. And he was like, oh, what are we celebrating? Not realizing he sold his first NFT, well, his first NFT sold for $10,000. So he basically like, look, you got to keep up the momentum. You're only as good as your last NFT. So fast forward, I think the woman's name is Sandy. The woman that Prosper is dating, he took her to, I don't know why I can't think of the name of it in this moment, but the Real Spot. I'm like, what is the name of the place? The Real Spot. And it looks like, apparently how Jamaica would look and all of that. And Hollywood came out with the beanie with the little twist added onto it. I was like, dang, Vi could have had like a little bikini situation on and like a sarong. That's what she could have had on to kind of give it an island vibe. But I mean, whatever. It is what it is. That would have been cute. I feel like she could have did that. She could have had on like a maxi dress. I think she could have did that to kind of get into the spirit, but she just had on a regular dress. Who am I? I ain't nobody. So anyway, they were here for it. They thanked them for the situation, and she actually allowed Joaquin to prepare the plantains. Apparently, his mama taught him how to cook them and all that, so it's like his specialty. So she did tell him earlier in this episode that for him to, one of the ways that he can help to prove that he's worthy to really be in the kitchen like that is to help out with planning this situation. So he was like, I really wanted to prosper. He told Sandy that he really wanted to, give her a great date, but he already knew that she wanted to go to Jamaica, but he can't afford that. And so she was just looking at him like, don't nobody care about all that. Like, this was really, really nice. This is really special. This is, it is what it is. So Ralph Angel was at home. Darla came in, and, True wouldn't go to sleep. And the only thing that kind of helped her to go on ahead and go to sleep was to see the video of the grandparents again. And so she is asleep on the bed next to him. And so Darla came in there, curled up next to him, and they talking and discussing what all went down at the bank that day. He gets a phone call, and as soon as he get that phone call, some kind of way it was Prosper. And I'm like, dang, what happened with Prosper? It didn't make sense because he was supposed to be at that dinner. But I guess the dinner was over with, and then, all that stuff went down. He trying to figure out what's going on. And so ended up saying it's happening. The woman is being booted out of her house. It's the middle of the night. Why the sheriff at the house in the middle of the night? Sam gonna sit up there and say all this. Well, the sheriff talking about all that stuff got to be out the house before the end of the business day. And it's pitch black outside. Now, I understand how summers can be in the South because I'm from Alabama. But what time was it that day? when that happened, when the sheriff was at the house and it's pitch black like that outside. It wasn't raining. I mean, like, wait a minute, like, what really was going on? The end of the day, so it was just to the point where Hollywood and other people, they banded together and they were helping to get boxes and stuff out the house. Like the woman crying, she was like, "I'm losing my house, I'm losing everything." She trying to figure out what she gonna do. Violet telling her, "We got you. We gonna figure it out." And I'm like, where's she gonna live though? Like, for real. Like, what is really going on here? Because you already got a full house. Child, this was too much. I'm like, y'all done did too much around here. Like, this is really too much. And it's so emotional. When I tell y'all, Ava DuVernay, ma'am, you really be trying to make me cry. I don't appreciate that. Anyway, this was a great episode to me. It hit home. Very, very personal. I can identify with all of this stuff dealing with the farm life. But anyway, thank y'all so much for tuning in. Subscribe to my channel if you're not done so. Give this video a thumbs up. Let's talk about it down in the comments section. Have y'all been enjoying it so far? Because I know I have. I have thoroughly enjoyed myself. When I tell y'all this episode about took me out, don't do it. Do not do it. Anyway, y'all have a wonderful day. I'm about to go my behind to sleep. I was gonna do one more recap review, but I can't even hold my eyes open. My eyes hurt. Hopefully these people will go somewhere and sit down so I can go to sleep. All right, y'all, take care. Bye.